Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Precision Sunday race night to you all. Welcome to the Dre Broadcasting Network as we bring you live coverage from Michigan International Speedway. The Precision Racing League brings you the United Armed Services Oval Series featuring the Michigan's Great Lakes 180. I am your commentator, Sean Zulu, as I am accompanied by my good friend and producer, Dave. Everly, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great. Sean, how you doing tonight?
I am doing good too, thank you. Well, Dave, tonight we are racing here at this track. Well, Dave, tell us a little bit about tonight's race, please.
Well, as you said, we are at Michigan International Speedway here. Taking a look at the weather, it's 80 degrees for an air temperature with a track temperature of 98 degrees. The wind is northwest at 5 miles an hour under partly cloudy conditions.
And as usual, these guys do have a 60% fuel limit. That is 60%, so they will have to pit at least once in order to be able to make it. And that track temp, like you pointed out, 98 degrees Fahrenheit is very high, so it's going to make things very, very interesting for a whole 90-lap race. And currently in front of me are the season standings, our current season standings. We still have the 24 of Corey Blevin still in the lead from Flat Out Motorsports. The 2, Dallas Pataska, the 7, is from Dallas Pataska Motorsports, is still in second place as well. And the 1 of James O'Brien from Underdog Motorsports is still in third place. Charles Paradis from Turn Left Racing is fourth place. 654 Josh Conker from Underdog Motorsports is in fifth place. Brandon Massey, the 11, the Screaming Eagles team, is in 6th. The 7 of Justin Michael is in 7th place. Dale Robertson from Voltage Racing is in 8th. The 14 of Paul D. Johnson from Big D's Racing is currently 9th in points. And that 95 of Jeffrey Ford from Ford Lane Motorsports, also being last week's race sponsor, the A&J Ford Memorial Run at Dover. And once again, he is from Ford Lane Motorsports, and he's currently rounding up our top 10 standings here in points. Just a little bit of a recap from the A&J Ford Memorial Run at Dover last week by Jeffrey Ford. We did have the one of Dallas Pataska bring it home. Justin Michael second, 654 Josh Conker third. The one of James O'Brien came out in fourth. The 16 of Curtis Aho, tonight's race sponsor, finished in fifth. That 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne sixth. The 66 of Charles Paradis finished in seventh. The 3 of Dale Robertson finished eighth. The 8 of Stephen Aguiar in ninth. And that 24 of Corey Blevins, once again our season standings leader and has been for the past 5-6 races, did round up the top 10 last week. And last week we did have a lot of green flag pit stops and a lot of beat up cars by the end of the race, because Dover is very, very narrow. It's a very, very tricky track. It's very, very difficult to drive on. So we did have a lot of beat up cars due to people scrubbing those walls, having less grip. And turns 2 and turn 4, they did claim a few drivers, including Eric Roberts, John Luboff, Brandon Massey. And the bump out of turn 2 claimed the 40 of Groskov, which sent him smoking heavily down pit road. And unfortunately, that did end his night. But going back to tonight's race, we do have these guys currently under qualifying. We have 1 minute remaining until qualifying is over. And we do have that one of James O'Brien on the pole with a 39.374. Well, Dave, from experience racing here at Michigan International Speedway, what do you think is the best strategy for these guys?
It's definitely going to come down to pitch strategy and tire conservation there, Sean.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. And like we have talked about, that track temp, it is 98 degrees Fahrenheit. That is less grip. It's going to wear those tires out even more. So yeah, once it comes down to that pit strategy day, we are gonna expect to see a lot of drivers. So we'll be most likely seeing a lot of drivers taking 4 tires with a full tank of gas, and most likely not seeing too many 2-tire heroes.
Yeah, most definitely here. So I think we're gonna see a lot of different pit strategies here at Michigan. This is a 2-mile oval, so these guys should be getting up to some pretty good speeds here tonight. So it should make for a fun and interesting race here tonight.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Precision Racing League United Armed Services Oval Series by Dean Stone. And tonight we are featuring the Michigan's Great Lakes 180 by Curtis Aho. Well, by the looks of it, we have advanced into gridding mode, so we will give these guys a few seconds before we go down that list. Well, once again, we do have that one of James O'Brien on the pole. And starting to his right is going to be the 654 of Josh Conker, who will be leading the outside. The 66 of Charles Paradis will be starting in 3rd place. 2nd place on the bottom lane, with the 8 of Stephen Aguiar assisting the 654 of Josh Conker, 4th place. 2nd place on the outside. And that 7 of Dallas Pataska, last week's winner at Dover International, will be starting in 5th place. The 28 Eric Roberts, 6th. The 24 Corey Blevins, our current season standings leader, 7th. The 11 of Brandon Massey, 8th. That 5 of Jason Ashby will be starting in 9th. And the 45 of Eddie Hawks, 10th. We have the 16 of Curtis Aho, 11th. The 27 of Danny Duchesne, 12th. The 18 of Travis Browder, 13th. The 9-11 of John LaBeouf, 14th. And that 3 of Dale Robertson, 15th. The 13 Jean-Francois Champagne, 16th. The 21 of Trevor White, 17th. The 60 of Colton Lane starting in 18th. We have the 78 of Ronald McManus, 19th. The 59 of David White, 20th. The 14 of Paul D. Johnson will be starting in 21st. And it's going to be the last car to put down a qualifying time. And being the first car not to qualify will be the 6 of Stephen Mattock starting 22nd. We have the 4 of Sammy Holmes going to be starting in 23rd place. The 40 of Aaron Groskov starting 24th. The 41 of Chris Perez will be starting in 25th. The 9 of Austin Moore, 26th. And that 10 of Lance Marsh starting in 27th. So tonight we are going to have a 27 car field, which will give us amazing racing because all those guys in the back will be trying their best to get up front.
Well, it looks like they are now rolling there, Sean, so they are going to do their one lap here as they come through turns 1 and 2, headed towards that backstretch. As you said, we have the 1 of James O'Brien, and it's going to be leading them to the green flag for the start of tonight's race. This is a 90-lap race here at Michigan International Speedway.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. Long way to go. A lot can happen. So these guys do keep that in mind. And the good thing about them is that they do not give up no matter what happens. As you know, most of them, the races don't really go their way most of the time. They do end up getting wrecked out, and but they still do stay in it to win it. As right now, that 66 of Chance Paradis getting bunched up behind that 1 of James O'Brien, getting ready to go green for the first time this time by as they do enter turns number 3. We do have just everyone pretty much riding. That 66 of Chance Paradis is clutching it in, already saving gas. Well, Dave, take it away.
Pace car dips off. Looks like James O'Brien is going to keep them at pace speed as they brings them here into the dogleg. The green flag's off on the throttle. He's got the 66 of Charles Paradis all over his bumper. Stephen Maddox has got a little bit of a gap between him and Conker, but they are going to stay side by side. It looks like James O'Brien is going to edge out here into turn number 1.
In that 66 of Charles Paradis will challenge the 654 of Conker here for that second place position. He does clear him successful in the exit of turn number 2. The 654 Conker will ride single file behind him. He's going to try and pick to the outside, try and make the pass on the outside, following the draft of that 1 of James O'Brien. Looking for the back in the pack, we do have the 24 of Corey Blevins on the inside of the 8 of Aguiar, who is on the outside line, following the line of that 7 of Pataska, who then drops down to that bottom lane. And Dave, like we had talked about earlier, the track temp is very high. So all these guys, Dave, are trying their best to make use of those new tires while they can.
Yeah, most definitely here is it looks like James O'Brien is putting out a little bit of a gap here. The question is he going to be able to save tires there, or is he going to burn them up? And looks like Josh Conker is now going to look to the inside of Charles Paradis here, coming into turn number 3.
Looking for the back in the pack, we do have that 16 of Curtis Aho, who is looking to the inside of 28 of Eric Roberts. He will make the pass successfully on him on the exit of turn 4 and will be behind the 5 of Jason Ashby, who then becomes his next victim. And further up front, the 8 of Aguiar is on the inside of the 24 of Corey Blevins. That is a battle for the 5th place position. But that 24 of Blevins does back it down to let him go. Looking for the back in the pack again, Dave. The 11 of Brennan Massey right now just riding behind the 18 of Travis Brother. But right now he is side by side with the 45 of Eddie Hawks. Right now Eddie Hawks is getting the draft from the 18 of Travis Brother. But then he looks to his inside. It'll be 3 wide in turn 3.
I don't think the inside is right where Travis Router wants to be, but he does a good job of holding it as they are still 3 wide here coming through the dogleg. But it looks like Travis Browder is going to be able to get back in front of the 45 of Hawks.
And now the 18 of Brother is challenging the 28 of Eric Robertson. I've noticed Eric Roberts has just been riding that outside line there. Very good strategy on his part. He is sacrificing speed to save tires. In the long run, he will be the fastest.
Well, as we said earlier in the race, tire conservation is going to be key here, and also fuel strategy. So it'll be interesting how this is going to play out as we see if we can get to some green flag pit stops here early, as it looks like most of these guys are starting to get down into single file here and just kind of ride.
Yeah, they most likely did notice that the 1 of James O'Brien is pulling away because they are battling. But right now, that 27 of Duchesne is side by side with the 13 of Jean-Francois. They are fighting for the 13th place position, but that 27 of Duchesne does defend the outside line and has leaves no choice for the 13 of Francois to challenge him using the inside line while they're both drafting the 45 of Eddie Hawks.
Yeah, most definitely.
And that 27 of Duchesne right now is feeling the pressure as well from the 3 of Dale Robertson. Well, Dave, let's ride on the in-car of the 3 of Robertson just so we can watch him work.
To pick me up for that? It's kind of like broadcast with you, Mr. Rex.
Yeah, right now Dale is just riding behind the 13 of Francois and the 27 of Duchesne, and is going to drift high to try and get the best run out of that turn. And right now he is catching that 13 of Jean-Francois. The 27 of Duchesne as well is catching up to 45 of Eddie Hawks. Has no choice but to back it down. He was blocked in. 3 wide in turn 3 among the 27 of Duchesne, the 45 of Hawks, and the 13 of Jean-Francois. 45 Hawks in the middle, 27 of Duchesne on the outside, the 13 of Francois on the inside to drag race to turn 1. Let's see who gives, let's see who takes. They still stay 3 wide here in 2 turns. Number 1, that 27 Duchesne does lead a slight nose on the entry to turn 1. They almost make contact, they stay 3 wide, but that 45 of Hawks does back it down, because they were getting very, very close to him. But the 13 of Jean-Francois and the 27 of Duchesne do get past him, and right now he gets taken 3 wide by the 911 of Labov and the 6 of Steven Mattox. 3 wide once again here into turn 3. The 911 of Labov on the outside, 6 of Mattox on the inside. They almost make contact. They still stay 3 wide. The 6 of Mattox almost makes contact with him. He goes down to avoid causing trouble, but it's still going to be a drag race. Well, Dela 45 of Hawks is not backing off. He backed up for the 27 of Duchesne and the 13 of Jean-Francois, but he refuses to back off for the 911 of Labov and the 6 of Mattox, and so far it is paying off. But right now the 911 of Labov does do the crossover move to try and follow the line of the 6 of Mattox to push him past the 45 of Hawks. And up ahead, that 3 of Robertson is challenging 27 of Duchesne, but he backs it off on the exit of turn 4. That opens the door for the 6 of Mattox, who is being pushed by the 911 of John Labov on the inside with the help of the 45 of Eddie Hawks, who will try and push on the 3 of Robertson.
Yeah, these guys are battling it pretty early, pretty hard here, as they are running 3 wide here in the back of the field. These guys want to gain that back track position, get closer up to that front here, as they were battling back for the 5th, 6th, and 7th position here, as these guys are definitely battling. As it looks like we have a wreck there on the backfield, but that is not going to bring out the caution, Sean.
Oh man, 10 of Lance Marsh involved, got the biggest piece of that. Heavy smoke on the backstretch off the track. But right now he is still rolling. He most likely will go down pit road to try and get some damage fixed if possible. But that thing is smoking, so it's going to be a lot of work for that pit crew of his. But hopefully they can have enough time to bring it out there so they can put down some laps to gain the most points possible.
Yeah, it looks like it also involved the 59 of David White. Also, I am seeing the 4 of Sammy Holmes going a little slow there on the apron. So it looks like he was also involved, as he is making his way down on the pit road as we speak.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. Sammy Holmes, heavy damage throughout the entire car. And right now he has a 10 of Lance Marsh behind him. And these two are teammates. That is very, very unfortunate to see for these guys. And right now they are going multiple laps down. They will go multiple laps down because that field up there just got around them as they were on pit road. But getting back onto the track, we have that 28 of Eric Roberts just overtook the 11 of Brandon Massey. But right now the 11 of Brandon Massey coming back with a big run off the exit of turn number 2 and will charge on his rear end. Looks like the 11 of Brandon Massey, Dave, is just content with riding so far. He was pushing the 28 of Eric Roberts on that straight. That was a very, very good strategy to try and run down the next cars in line.
Yeah, most definitely here is this field is kind of checked out a little bit here, but the 11 of Brandon Massey looks into the inside of Roberts, just not enough speed to get there. Now as they come into turn number 1, it looks like he is going to get door to door. He is going to take that inside line lane, and is he going to be able to clear Roberts and jump up in front of him and overtake that number 10 position?
Yeah, he does make that pass successfully on him. He also opened the door for the 13 of Jean-Francois, but was able to hold him off on the exit. We have a 24 of Corey Blevins in the wall. He is slow on the high side. They all get around him successfully. No harm was done, but right now, that 24 of Corey Blevins does seem to have some right front damage after smacking that one. He does have the 911 of John Love come back with a huge run on him behind him. So he most likely will be getting around him because that speed difference is quite huge.
Yeah, most definitely. He's got some that damage that is going to slow him down a little bit, but he's doing a good job as the 911 of John Leboff is going to look to his outside, but not able to get there. Corey Blevins is going to hold it down and let him take that outside lane.
And Dave, we have some 3 wide. The 13 of Jean-Francois going to go down the middle in between the 28 of Roberts and the 11 of Massey, but he backs it off. The 11 of Massey does go way wide. The 13 of Jean-Francois will go to the inside to try and get a bigger run on him. But so far, it doesn't seem to be having much luck, so he will be using the draft of the 11 of Brandon Massey to get around the 28 of Eric Roberts on the inside. And he will lead a slide nose across the start-finish line over the 28 of Eric Roberts. And he's going to be bumped up into the 11th place position.
Yeah, going back up here into second position, it looks like currently in second we have the 66 of Charles Paratus. Him and James O'Brien have checked out from the rest of the field there as he is trying to track down James O'Brien, last season's champion here. But it looks like there is a huge gap of just about 2 seconds between Paratus and Dallas Pataska running in your third position.
Yeah, huge gap indeed. A lot of work needs to be done. But right now, that 66 of Charles Paradis is in luck because he is in the draft of the leader, the 1 of James O'Brien. But the 7 of Pataska is not in the draft of the 66 of Charles Paradis, so it's going to be very, very difficult for him to catch up to him in a hurry. But going further back, Dave, we have a battle for the 4th place position between the 18 of Browder and the 8 of Aguiar, who are catching up to the 7 of Pataska.
Yeah, Travis is doing a pretty good job after starting back in the 13th position. He is up into the top 5 here as he was able to get around the 8 of Aguiar and overtake that 4th position, but he's still got his eyes on the prize as he is now trying to get up to Dallas Pataska and overtake for that number 3 position.
Yeah, and Dave, that 18 of Browder and the 8 of Aguiar were catching up to the 7 of Pataska, but right now Pataska is increasing that gap, so he did put that hammer to the floor to try and keep those guys behind him, and so far it is working by the looks of it, but the 18 of Browder is in his draft, so there's only so much the 7 of Pataska can do at this point. And looking further behind the 18 of Browder, we have the 16 of Aho side by side of the 654 of Josh Conker. That is a battle for the 5th place position. That 16 of Curtis out tonight's race sponsor, still side by side, the 654 of Conker, who is being pushed by the 8 of Aguiar. And the 8 of Aguiar does get into the sand in the trioval, which did slow him down, but he is still behind the 16 of Aho and the 654 of Conker, who are side by side here through turns 1 and 2. The 16 of Aho does propel a slight nose over the 654 of Conker in the exit of turn 2. That allows the 8 of Aguiar to take it away. Yeah, that was a bad exit by the 654 of Josh Conker by the looks of it. But it did allow the 8 of Aguiar to get around him, and also the 16 of Curtis Aho to even increase that gap in between them. But Dave, that 8 of Aguiar just gets around the 16 of Aho and the 654 of Josh Conker on the exact same lap. Oh, that 16 of Aho not backing it down. He is challenging that 8 of Aguiar trying to take away, or trying to take back what was rightfully his, which was a 5th place position. Well, Dave, let's ride on the end card of the 16 of Aho just so we can watch him work. On the exit of turn 2, he just starts bump drafting the 8 of Aguiar to most likely try and increase the gap in between them and the 654 of Josh Conker. That 8 of Aguiar does drift high into turns number 3, and the 16 of Aho comes up with the big run for the exit of turn 4. Will he take it away? Nope, he's just going to ride behind the 8 of Aguiar and give him a bump draft here on the front stretch to try and catch that 18 of Travis Browder, who has caught up to the 7 of Pataska. And Dave, last time we checked, the 7 of Pataska was 2 seconds behind the 66 of Charles Paradis, but that has gone up to about 3.9 seconds, 1.9 seconds more than last time we checked. And at the same time, the 66 of Charles Paradis has caught up to the 1 of James O'Brien.
Yeah, it looks like the 66 of Charles Paradis is going to challenge James O'Brien here, as James O'Brien has led all 19 laps so far here at Michigan International Speedway, but he has got the 66 of Charles Paradis all over him, as it looks like Paradis may have conserved his tires a little bit more and was able to close that gap and get up to him.
And Dave, we have some drivers down pit road. Brandon Massey in the 11 and the 28 of 27 of Danny Duchesne. And they only have 20 laps on their tires. So Dave, that just might be a scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, they're probably getting close to that fuel window. So now that we see these guys in here, they're probably playing some pit strategies. As we saw the 27 of Duchesne kind of miss his pit stall and have to back up. But the 11 of Brandon Massey is now off pit road, rolling off pit road. So it'll be interesting to see when we'll start seeing the leaders come in.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. And just like we had seen last week at Dover International Speedway, we did notice that some drivers, we had two drivers who decided to run those tanks dry, and I believe one of the drivers was the 45 of Eddie Hawk. So we should see some drivers trying to run it dry as well, but it most likely will affect them negatively because that tire wear is not the best due to a high track temp of 98 degrees Fahrenheit, which is going to change and determine these guys' pit strategy. And Dave, going further up front, we have a battle for the lead between the 66 of Charles Paradis and the one of James O'Brien. Charles Paradis does get ahead of the one of James O'Brien here, but the one of James O'Brien puts the hammer down to the floor trying to do the over and under. Nope, he backs it off to try and stay behind the 66 of Charles Paradis.
Yeah, well, these guys were able to get in line quick because if these guys were to battle, that would have let the 18 of Travis Browder, Dallas Pataska, and Curtis Aho to catch him. As now it looks like their gap is over 3 seconds ahead of the third place, the 18 of Travis Browder. Looks like the leaders are coming down onto pit road. Oh, the 66 of Charles Paradis locks him up, spins it sideways, keeps it off the wall, but that is going to cost him some time. Here comes the 654 of Josh Conker to the 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne, also down on pit road.
Holy cow, David. 66 of Charles Paradis went sideways on the entry like you had pointed out, and he went sideways and crosses that line, the yellow cone, doing 55 miles an hour, which is pace speed, so that's good on his part because he won't get a 15-second penalty for speeding on pit road, so that was definitely some great driving on his part.
Well, as we are now focusing back on the 18 of Travis Browder, he is slowing down. Him and it looks like the 16 of Curtis Aho are going to make their way down onto pit road here for their green flag pit stops here on lap 23. So it looks like we're going to start seeing some pit stops between 20 and probably somewhere between 20 and 25 laps. Here is that is going to hand the race lead over to Dallas Pataska.
Yep, Dallas Pataska, new race leader, 6 of Steven Matos being shown in second place, 1 second behind him, and he is catching up to some lap cars. Well, these guys are most likely on newer tires, so he most likely won't be able to get around them. 654 of Conker has the hammer down the floor, battling the 66 of Charles Paradis, trying to make up as much time as possible, and right now they are side by side on the front stretch. The 654 of Conker was able to, actually 66 of Charles Paradis was able to stay ahead of the 654 of Conker, but here into turn 1, the 654 of Conker does lead a slight nose and most likely gets around him. Yes, he does. The 66 of Charles Paradis does back it down to let him go.
Well, we do have some more down on pit road. The 7 of Pataska, the 6 of Stephen Maddox, and Colton Lane are all down on pit road. That is just leaving us 4, 5, 6, 7 cars left to pit.
And being on the list of those 7 cars will be this Steven Aguiar. Steven Aguiar slowing down as we speak, going down onto the apron, pitting in this time by. And Dale Robertson behind him will follow him down pit road. And now we only have 45 Eddie Hawks, Chris Perez. Nope, both drivers just entered pit road. Now, for the entire field right now, we only have 3 drivers remaining left to pit. David White, well, actually, never mind. Austin Moore and Aaron Groskov just pitted in, so only the 59 of David White is left to pit.
And here comes the 59 of David White down on the pit road. That is going to be our last car that needed to pit for our first round of green flag pit stops here tonight, as we've already completed 25 of 90 laps, with only 3 lead changes and no cautions so far.
And Dave, I was monitoring it. The 59 of David White was the driver who stayed the longest on those tires before going down pit road. He had 25 laps on his tires. Something tells me that was him most likely running the tank dry. So it's safe to say that the pit window is, or the last, you can only have 25 laps on tires.
Well, Sean, that is going to hand that race lead back over to the 1 of James O'Brien, as he has now taken over that lead. In second place, we have the 18 of Travis Browder, the 16 of Curtis Aho will be in third position, the 11 of Brandon Massey fourth, and the 66 of Charles Paredes will round out your top 5.
And last time we had checked, Dave, the 654 of Conqueror was able to make the pass successfully on the 66 of Charles Paredes, but Charles Paredes was able to take it back away from him as both drivers overtake the 4 of Sammy Holmes, who does still have heavy damage. It's very unfortunate for Sammy Holmes. He's had some bad luck this season, but we do hope that it picks up for him. But he's still out there going nice and strong.
Yeah, most definitely here is we're getting about a third of the way here completed as we are 63 laps to go. These guys are putting on a good show here tonight, but here comes the 1 of James O'Brien as he is starting to catch the 28 machine. That looks like the 28 there of Eric Roberts. So he is coming up on him on a hurry. Yeah, James O'Brien is putting on a clinic here tonight. Actually, that's Ron McManus in the 78 that he's catching, but he is putting on a gap here as he is well over 4.5 seconds ahead of second place, the 18 of Travis Browder.
And Dave, further back in the pack, we have a battle for the 14th place position between the 911 of John LaBeouf and the 6 of Steven Mattox. They do have a drag race on the front stretch, but the 911 of John LaBeouf does propel here, but they almost make contact. That was quite the side draft on both drivers' parts. The 911 of John LaBeouf does back it down sooner to try and do the over and under, but so far no luck. 6 of Mattox does go way wide. The 911 LaBeouf will come back with a big run on the exit of turn 2. Also further up front, they were side by side battle between, looks like, it was the 8 of Aguiar getting around the 4 of Sammy Holmes, who does stay high to let everybody go by him. And right now his car is doing a great job. His pit crew did their best to try and beat that thing out so he can still get back out into the track to put down some more qualifying, some more lap times. And right now he is pushing about 170 miles an hour max. Then he has to back it down in the turns.
Yeah, most definitely. As we've just completed our first round of green flag pit stops, this field is spread out as we have the 1 of James O'Brien out to a commanding lead here over the rest of the positions. But it looks like everybody's pretty well spread out through the field here, Sean.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. Everybody is spread out. Yeah, that's what those green flag pit stops do. They do end up spreading out the field. But Dave, it's not yet over until it's over. So once those second green flag pit stops do kick in, Dave, I have a feeling things are going to change.
Oh, most definitely here. So it looks like we're going to need about 2 more pit stops. And these guys should be able to complete maybe 3 more pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see how this pit strategy is going to play out here tonight.
And there we have another battle between the 6 of Mattox and the 21 of Trevor White. The 6 of Mattox is on the inside. The 21 of Trevor White does drift way wide, way high on the entry to turn number 3. And on exit of 4, he will lose the position to the 6 of Mattox. But right now, he does have a big engine roaring from behind. It is a 911 of John LaBeouf. Also further back in the pack, we do have, looks like the 40 of Aaron Groskov right now is behind the 9 of Austin Moore. But right now, Aaron Groskov is currently being shown in the 23rd position with some right side damage, some right front damage on that machine. So it most likely will affect the ability or the handling of that car in the turns. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that damage is definitely going to implementing, especially on the draft side. Is he is just kind of riding there by himself. As he gets into the wall again, which definitely slows him down. And here comes the 1 of James O'Brien, who is going to get around him and put him a lap down.
Oh man, that is very, very unfortunate. And a status check on the 24 of Corey Blevins. He is going nice and strong, currently in 24th position. Last time we checked, he had just smacked the wall. But right now, he is behind that 14 of Paul D. Johnson, trying his best to use the draft of the 14 of Paul D. Johnson to try and keep up with him. But right now the 14 of Johnson is trying his best as well to leave the 24 of Corey Blevins behind him. But Corey Blevins not backing down, still putting on a hard fight.
Well, going back up into the front here, it looks like Travis Browder's got some competition behind him as he has got the 16 of Curtis Aho in that Ford Mustang challenging that Toyota Camry. He is all over that back bumper as he is just waiting for Travis to make a mistake to be able to capitalize and take that second position away.
And at this point, Dave, I'm pretty sure the 18 of Browder is riding his rearview mirror, or pretty much driving in his rearview to try and figure out what the best line is, or the best line possible to keep the 16 of Aho behind him. But they are catching up to a slower car. It is the 78 of McMaster. They do take him 3 wide. They split him down the middle, and they do make that pass successfully.
All that allowed the 16 of Curtis Aho. He had a good run into the turn, but he had to check up to try to keep him sliding up in the wall, so that is going to give Travis Browder a little room there between him and Curtis Aho.
So looking further behind them, Dave, the 7 of Pataska is behind. The 6 of Charles Perez was applying pressure. But right now the 7 of Pataska does back it down to try and get around an exit of turn 4. The 6 of Charles Perez does drift high. The 7 of Pataska does come back with an even bigger run. He's going to try his best to challenge him. The 6 of Charles Perez goes down to the below that yellow line to try and break the draft between him and the 7 of Pataska, and that does still keep him behind. But the 7 of Pataska was still able to close that gap quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like coming through the turn, Dallas Pataska's going to run a little lower line. That is going to get him up into that draft. So he is going to suck right up into that back bumper of Charles Paradis as he makes a move on the outside, trying to get to the inside of Charles Paradis there. But he's just not able to complete the pass through the turn. But here on the exit, he gets a good run. So he's going to get to the quarter panel there of Paradis as they are going to drag race down to the start-finish line.
And also the 8 of Aguiar is on the move and man on the mission right now, overtaking the 11 of Vernon Massey for the 9th place position. He does lead a big nose. Nope, he clears him on the entry to turn number 1. And right now his next victim is the 28 of Eric Roberts, who drifts high and has no choice but to back it down to avoid hitting that one. That does open the door for the 8 of Aguiar to take it away from him. Right now he is in the draft of the 5 of Jason Ashby, who is in front of him. And Jason Ashby, another amazing driver. I've been spoken much of him tonight. He is currently in 7th place, and his next victim, or the next closest victim, is the 654 of Josh Conker for the 6th place position.
Yeah, most definitely here. Taking a look at my lap times, it looks like so far James O'Brien has put down the fastest lap time so far of the day with a 39.558. However, looking at that last lap, it looks like our fastest runner was Chris Perez all the way back in 21st. Actually, that just updated. Stephen Maddox actually put down the fastest lap time last lap with a 40.757. So he is definitely, as you said, on a mission as he is gaining on that 5 of Jason Ashby.
Also, Dave, going for the back in the pack. Speaking of that, 41 of Chris Perez has been keeping a low profile with the 59 of David White. And right now he does seem to be content with just riding behind the 59 of David White, pushing him on the straightaways and backing off in the turns, then actually getting runs on him on the exit of those turns to start pushing him on the straights again. But nope, he's going to challenge him. He's going to look to his inside, and they will be side by side. 41 of Chris Perez, huge run, most likely will clear him on the entrance to turn 1.
Well, that was not for position as David White is already 1 lap down. But the guy in front of him, the 27 of Danny DeShane, that will be for position as Perez powers off of the turn, gets a good run. He jumps up, tries to get a little bit of that draft to Danny DeShane as he is going to look to DeShane's inside here through turns 3 and 4.
And Dave, we have a pack of just single file of a bunch of great drivers here. Dave, we do have that 13 of Jacques Francois riding behind the 14 of Cody Johnson. Wow, he does have press from behind from the 21 of Trevor White. These guys are riding single file, Dave, trying their best to catch up to those leaders before those second round of green flag pit stops kick in. Because, Dave, if they are not able to run the leader down, they'll just lose more time once they exit pit road.
Well, Sean, we are going to start seeing those second round of green flag pit stops here in the next lap to 5 laps. So it's not any time now between now and the next 5 laps we might start seeing our second round of green flag pit stops. Question is who's going to come in first? Who is going to stay out?
That's going to be very interesting, but by the looks of it, Dave, the driver who might be coming in first just might be the 11 of Brandon Massey, because the last time we checked, Dave, he was the driver who pitted in first, had his first run of green flag pit stops before everybody did. So he most likely will be the first driver to pit in, because at this point, he does have the most laps on his tires, followed by the 27 of Danny Duchesne, who did go down pit road with him. And the whole entire pack does get around the 60 of Cotton Lane, who is currently in 14th place, but right now he puts the hammer down to the floor to try and keep these guys behind him. He has the 14 of Johnson, take him 3 wide, the 9-11 of John LaBeouf. They will make the pass successfully on him. Looks like 60 of Cotton Lane does back it down to let them go. No harm was done. The 14 of Johnson and the 9-11 of LaBeouf do get around him successfully. But ahead of them, there was a battle between the 21 of White and the 13 of Jean-Francois. But the 21 of Trevor White decides to back it down to just ride single file behind the 13 of Jean-Francois.
Well, as we are now 48 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our first commercial break of the night. So get your snacks, get your popcorn, and we will be right back.
Drivers, start your reading. Motor Sim Racing Magazine is the first and only magazine dedicated to sim racing. Every month we'll be covering the hot topics around the world of sim racing. So if you're looking to be in the know, go to www.motorsimsracing.com. You will find articles from your favorite drivers, leagues, and other prominent people in the sim racing community. Want an update of your favorite league? We got it. Want to learn the basics on finding a perfect league for you? We got it. Want to know more about how leagues are run? We got it. So remember, when you want to know what's going on in the sim racing world, go to www.motorsimracing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Precision Racing League United Armed Services Oval Series by the 092 of Dean Stone, who is one of the drivers. And tonight's race is the Michigan Great Lakes 180 by the 16 of Curtis Aho. Well, while under commercial break, we did have a lot of drivers go down pit road, but so far only the top 8 drivers still need to pit in. The 18 of Travis Browder, the 7 of Pataska, 8 of Aguiar, the 6 of Mattox, the 3 of Dale Robertson, the 60 of Cotton Lane, 45 Eddie Hawks, and that 41 of Chris Perez. But everybody else had gone down pit road. And right now the 7 of Pataska does go down pit road with the 8 of Steven Aguiar, and that does leave the leader logging about his 25th lap as we speak.
Well, it looks like our leader, the 18 of Travis Browder, is staying out here. He is trying to push the fuel mileage here, as he has currently got 25 laps since his last pit stop here. It looks like these guys are going to need at least one more pit stop to be able to finish this race.
And speaking of the leader, the 18 of Browder, Dave, he does downshift that sucker going down pit road, this time by for his green flag pit stops with 25 laps on his tires. Well, at this point, we can just say 26 laps because he will cross the start-finish line for his to mark down his 26th lap. So that is 26 laps on his tires.
So that looks like that is going to hand the lead over to the 3 of Dale Robertson, as he is going to lead a lap here. Waiting on him to pit. Still looks like we've got 5 drivers left to pit here. Looks like a few of them are trying to push the fuel mileage here just to try to extend it out and maybe only have to take a pit stop here, as we have completed 48 of 90 laps, over halfway, no cautions, and 5 lead changes.
And that might give us a new race leader, most likely the 3 of Dale Robertson just crossed the start-finish line. Yes, the 3 of Dale Robertson does take over that race lead away from the 18 of Travis Browder, who just keeps getting bumped down as we speak, because that 45 of Eddie Hawks has not yet pitted with us the same as the 3 of Dale Robertson. So these guys both have 25 laps on their tires, for of Chris Perez, and the 60 of Cotton Lane, who has actually 26 laps on his tires. And going back up front, Dave, we do have that 13 of Jean-Francois battling that 9-11 of John LeBoeuf. Both drivers are currently being shown 1 lap down, as that 13 of Jean-Francois is trying his best to ride in the draft with that 9-11 of John LeBoeuf, who then drifts high to most likely try and break the draft in between him and the 13 of Jean-Francois. But the 13 of Jean-Francois will still ride in his draft into turn 1. He will try his best to close that gap.
Yeah, most definitely here. Taking a look. Now we're still waiting on our top 3 drivers right now. The 3 of Robertson, 45 of Eddie Hawks, and the 41 of Chris Perez still need to come down on the pit road, as they have already turned 26 laps since their last pit stop.
Looking further up front, we do have the 654 of Josh Conquer currently being shown in 9th place, behind about 1 second behind the 18 of Travis Browder, who in turn is 1 second behind the 66 of Charles Paradis. So these guys are spaced out quite a bit. And then it just pretty much goes further down the road. We do have the 28 of Eric Roberts currently running in 13th place behind the 5 of Jason Ashby, and ahead of the 24 of Corey Blevins, who is being pressured, who will be pressured by the 11 of Massey and the 6 of Mattox.
Yeah, most definitely here. We've got pretty much the field shook out, as we've got some more cars down on pit road. It looks like the 3 of Dale Robertson, 45 of Eddie Hawks, and the 41 of Chris Perez are down on pit road. That is going to hand that race lead back over to the 1 of James O'Brien. As we are taking a look, it looks like Curtis Ahu will be running in 2nd position. Just waiting on stuff to update to see the distance there. It looks like Curtis Ahu is only about 4/10 there behind the 1 of James O'Brien. They are now split by the 27 of Danny DeShane.
Well, Dave, last time we had checked, the 1 of James O'Brien was way ahead of the whole entire field, or the whole entire pack. But the 16 of Aho, Dave, did have quite a pit stop of a lifetime. He did have, actually had a slower pit stop compared to that of the 1 of James O'Brien. But Dave, he did put the hammer down to the floor and was just pretty much racing the track, and actually ran down the 1 of James O'Brien. And so far, he is riding the draft. The 27 of Danny Duchesne. Nope, he does go down to that bottom net to try and use the draft of the 1 of James O'Brien to try and catch up to him and take over the race lead.
Yeah, it looks like Curtis Aho is going to get around Danny DeShane, no problem. He is still going to stay about 4/10 behind the leader of James O'Brien. Looking back, it looks like the 3rd place car, Charles Paradis, is well over 7 seconds behind Curtis Aho, as they are showing right about 8.5 seconds behind the leader, but he has the 18 of Travis Browder right behind him.
Also looking further back in the pack, the 654 of Josh Conker just lost his position to the 7 of Dallas Patasco. Just got around him here on the entrance to turn number 3. And ahead of them, we do have a side-by-side battle going on. It is between the 18 of Browder and 66 of Charles Perez. They will be side-by-side on the front stretch in 2 turns. Number 1, that 66 of Charles Perez does lead a slight nose, but the 18 of Browder does toss it in harder to turn number 1. He will try to make the pass successful on the outside, but so far it is working. Let's see if he can hang on to it. Oh my, Dave. It's not an easy thing to make a pass on the outside line, but that 18 of Travis Brother did make that pass successfully on the 16 of Charles Paradis, who then falls back in line and will try and ride in his draft because they are 8 seconds behind those 2 leaders.
Yeah, these 2 guys are battling, as we said, for the 3rd and 4th position, as we have got cars all over the field here tonight. Is these green flag pit stops have definitely shaken up the field.
And right now, a driver who is on the move is the 8 of Steven Aguilar. Just like the last time we checked on him, right now he is behind the 654 of Josh Conger, who most likely is feeling the pressure because the picture of the 8 of Aguilar in his rearview mirror is getting nothing but bigger because he is getting closer to his back bumper. And with that said, Dave, let's run on the in-car of the 8 of Aguilar just so we can hear his engine roar. You do see him close the gap in between him and the 654 of Conker, and he's going to try most likely try and fake him because he knows he is riding his driving in his rearview mirror to try and see the best line possible to defend that position. Right now is just pretty much bump drafting him. Yep, he does toss into the inside of the 654 of Josh Conger. They will be side by side in 2 turns. Number 1 and 2, 654 of Josh Conger ends up lifting. So if we're getting to that one, that does allow the 8 of Aguilar to get around him successfully. And nope, he's not quite clear of him just yet. Yep, he successfully does clear him. The 654 of Josh Conker now falls back in line, and the 8 of Aguilar is catching up to a new driver, or the next victim, the 7 of Patasco. So looking for the back in the pack of the 21 of Trevor White, being overtaken by the 3 of Dale Robertson. That is for position number 15. He does get on him success from the exit of turn 4, and that 3 of Robertson has put that hammer down to the floor, catching his next victim, the 911 of John LaBeouf.
Well, Sean, as we are now getting down to 33 laps to go, these drivers know that here in about the next 10 laps, they could pit and be able to make it the remainder of the race. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to short pit, who is going to push their fuel mileage and stay out those extra laps here as we are counting down to the last third here of the race here at Michigan International Speedway.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. And with that said, we should expect, we are most likely going to see a lot of drivers trying to run those tanks dry because once they pit in, so they can have, I guess, they can have less laps to go on those newer tires, which means they will have enough time to push before those tires do run out compared to the opponents who will decide to pit in as soon as that pit window opens. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Looking for the back in the pack, David Butter between the 60 of Cotton Lane and the 14 of Paul D. Johnson. That is for position. 60 of Cotton Lane did have a big run in the 14 of Johnson on the exit of turn number 2, and that 14 of Johnson does stay high. The 60 of Cotton Lane does successfully clear him, and he goes off into the distance. Yeah, and Dave, that 14 of Johnson is suffering from some right side damage, right front damage on that machine of his, which most likely is affecting that top end at this point because that 60 of Cotton Lane does pull away.
Well, talking about Paul D. Johnson, we're going to go back up front and check on his teammate, the 16 of Curtis Aho with Big D's Racing, as he is trying to keep that 1 of James O'Brien from checking out. But James O'Brien has extended his lead on him just a little, up to 5.5 tenths ahead of him.
And both the 1 of O'Brien and the 16 of Aho are catching up to a lapped car or a car going a lap down if they do get around him. It is the 41 of Chris Perez, sorry. And right now Chris Perez has put that hammer down to the floor to try his best to keep those guys behind him as much as he can, or for as long as he can, before he goes down pit road.
Well, Sean, here in about the next 3 to 5 laps, we're going to start seeing our last round of green flag pit stops. That will put these guys in the window to be able to make it the remainder of the race here. So these guys will have to be careful not to get caught speeding on pit road, these leaders, because that could definitely really hurt them in the long run, getting hit with that penalty.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. Like earlier, we did see the 66 of Charles Paredes get sideways on pit entrance there, but was able to slow it down in time while sideways to avoid getting that pit road penalty of a 15-second hold on pit road. So yeah, it is just goes to show how tricky the pit entrance really is for these guys trying to back it down from 170 plus miles an hour plus down to 55 miles an hour pit road speed, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not myself there, Sean. I'm not very good at getting that car slowed down. I mean, you got to be real easy on the brakes, but you got to use it in the downshift. But you got to watch you don't get hard on them brakes, because that's most likely what happened to the 66 of Charles Paredes as he spun it around coming down on pit road. He just got a little too hard on them brakes and got that car spun around.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. It just goes to show how much experience it takes for these guys to run this. And I personally, too, Dave, I'm not good on pitting in, so I usually just depend on those cautions. But when those cautions do not end up flying, just like this race is going, that pretty much means I'm screwed. And Dave posting the 3 of Dale Robertson right now. He is pulling away from the 11 of Brennan Massey, the 40 of Aaron Groskov, who is battling the 9 of Austin Moore. Austin Moore, a great driver. We haven't spoken much of him, if any, tonight either. And right now he is drafting that 11 of Massey, trying his best to keep the 40 of Groskov behind him, but Groskov will get the position away from him here into the entrance of turn number 1. And Groskov is now behind the 11 of Brennan Massey and will challenge him for the position. Oh, actually, the 11 of Brennan Massey is on the lead lap, while the 40 of Groskov is being shown a lap down, so that is not for position.
Well, Sean, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Hopefully we don't have the fireworks like they had today in the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup at Las Vegas. They had some really interesting fireworks there after the race, but it looks like this is turning out to be a great race. These drivers are running hard, but they're running clean, and they are just putting on a clinic on how to run Michigan here tonight.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. And with that said, these guys, I'm pretty sure no one's thinking about saving gas, because they do know they won't be able to make it. And most drivers, Dave, do depend on cautions, but this race is not the one.
Well, we are now 25 to go. We have seen cars drive 25, 26 laps before pitting in. So we are in that pit window now. So it's a matter of who's going to pit, when they're going to pit, and are they going to have a clean pit.
And Dave going back up front, it does seem as though the 1 of James, the 16 of Aho is going down pit road this time by. Gonna be the first car to pit in for his final pit stop of tonight's race. Well, Dave, let's focus on the 16 of Aho just so we can watch him pit in, so we can see if he takes 4 tires, 2 tires, or gas only for the final pit stop.
As we see the 16 of Curtis Aho slide right into his pit stall. Taking a look, it looks like right side goes up. There goes the 66 of Charles Paredes. He's down on pit road as well. Same with Eric Roberts, Dale Robertson, Brandon Massey, Jean-Francois Champagne, and Corey Blevins. Looks like Curtis Aho is going to take 2 right side tires and a full tank of fuel and get back out on the track.
That 1 of James, 1 of James O'Brien going down pit road after having 23 laps on his tires. And the 20 of Travis Browder deciding to stay out 1 more lap and will take over that race lead. And behind him will be the 7 of Dallas Pataska. Actually, Dallas just went down pit road as well. So we're going to wait until it cycles out. But that 18 of Travis Browder is the new leader right now, and he most likely will be pitting in here in the next couple of laps to avoid losing more time.
Well, we are watching the 1 of James O'Brien. Looks like he is going to take 4 tires and a tank of fuel here on this last green flag pit stop. He gets hard on that throttle as they drop that jack, and he makes his way off of pit road, keeping on that apron until the backstretch. It looks like the 16 of Curtis Aho is going to pass him right there.
Oh, Dave, At this point, the biggest opponent of the one of O'Brien is that 16 of Curtis Aho. After the second round of green flag pit stops, we did notice that the 16 of Curtis Aho did come out of nowhere and was just challenging the one of James O'Brien. And right now, James O'Brien has got to put that hammer down to the floor to try and make up as much time as possible, because that is a very big gap in between him and his biggest opponent, the 16 of Curtis Aho.
Well, it looks like the 18 of Travis Browder is now going to make his way down onto pit road for his last green flag pit stop here of the night. That is going to hand that race lead over to the 45 of Eddie Hawks.
So looking for the back in the pack, Dave, we have the 6 of Steven Mattox trying to apply pressure to the 6.54 of Josh Conker for the 11th place position. And right now we are only showing 12 drivers on the lead lap, with the 6 of Mattox being the last car in the lead lap, while the 3 of Robertson is being shown the first car a lap down. But we do have a battle in front of, way ahead, up ahead. We do have the 6 of Mattox and the 6.54 of Josh Conker, who just got around the 5 of Jason Ashby, who decided to stay high to let them go.
Yeah, most definitely here as they are coming out of Fern 4 into the dog leg. It looks like 6.54 of Conker is going to hold off Steven Maddox right now. But he's got to watch, because Maddox is all over him, just waiting on him to make a mistake.
Oh, and Dave, going back to what I talked about during the pit stops, well, how these guys are going to try and run the tanks dry so they can, benefit from it. We had the 27 of Danny Duchesne put 27 laps on his tires, which is the most we've seen in tonight's race. The second we had seen was, I believe, 26 laps on the tires before a driver went down. People and Dave, right now we do have a driver who's very, very loose. 5 of Jason Ashby goes sideways on the apron into turn 3, goes back out to the track. He's going to hit the wall. Oh, he locks it up, smacks the wall quite a bit. The caution does fly. Looks like nobody else was involved in that, so let's focus on the 5 of Jason Ashby on replay.
Well, as we go to our Dre Broadcasting instant replay here, as you said, we are going to focus on the 5 of Jason Ashby. He just gets loose coming into the turn, gets down onto that apron, sends him up into the outside wall, and since cars were nearby, they threw out our caution. That is going to be our first caution of the night with 19 laps to go.
Well, Dave, this caution was much needed for a lot of drivers out there, Dave. It is going to give them a chance to stretch their arms, stretch their legs, because, Dave, once that green flag flies, it is going to be go time. So they're going to either bring the steering wheel home or try and bring the checkered flag home.
Well, that is going to shake us up, as you said, Sean, because that is going to give us right about 15 laps to go, a 15-lap shootout, and this is going to bring the entire field close together. The question is who is going to pit? Who is going to stay out? Are the leaders going to pit, or are they going to stay out? We do know that 45 of Eddie Hawks is more likely going to have to pit, as he's got over 20 laps already on his set of tires.
And while we're at it, we can actually interview one of the drivers. Let's focus on the 6 of Steven Mattox. Oh, looks like he is going down pit road with almost everybody, so we'll give him a few minutes to pit out, so we shouldn't interrupt him. We do have a lot of drivers staying out onto the track, trying their best to get at least one lap back when we do go on to green. Right now, the first car being shown a lap down is the 13 of Jean-Francois. He does have the 78 of Ronald McManus in front of him, with the 27 of Danny Duchesne behind the pace. Actually, the first car a lap down is the 41 of Chris Perez, who just got the lucky dog, so definitely some great driving on his part. Well, Steven Mattox is just exited pit road, so we'll pull him up here for an interview. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the 6 of Steven Mattox up here with us. Get a cup there, bud. Oh, you got a cop there, Steve? So you're pushing the wrong button, bud.
It's 6 car, I read you.
There we go. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough, man. I had to start in the back. I was having really, really atrocious pit stops. This caution is just what I needed to put me back up here with the leaders, man.
Oh, Steve, I can only imagine. And Steve, you did have a lot of drivers who you were battling. We did see you taking positions left and right and trying your best to break the draft in between you and your opponents behind you. And just like you said, it was a battlefield race. Well, how are you feeling, buddy? What's your strategy from now on?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm feeling good. The longer that we run, it seems like the faster I get. I'm just trying to run it safe for the first 5 or so laps without losing too many spots. And then I'm going to really push it as hard as I can and just hope for the best.
Oh, 10-4, Steve. And Steve, by the looks of it, you were battling almost the whole entire field. But by the looks of it, who do you think might be your biggest opponent or biggest threat tonight, buddy?
Quite honestly, the top 3 cars, the top 3 or 4 cars, I can't call them out by name right now, but they're pretty strong. If I can just maintain 4 or 5 seconds with 15 to go, I'm pretty sure that this tied Ford Mustang can run them down, but they're pretty strong.
Oh, copy that, Steve. And Steve, you have been an amazing driver in tonight's race. You are an amazing driver overall, but tonight you did bring that A game, put the hammer down to the floor. You took a lot of names and had some good green flag pit stops. And Steve, the track temp tonight is very, very high, buddy. 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that affecting you at all?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Oh yeah, I was saying the track temp tonight is very high. Is it affecting you, the car's handling at all?
I tell you, my man, we're loving it. This Tide Ford is loving the track temps tonight. I couldn't ask for anything better. I've got a top 1 car. Hopefully, I'll be a top 1 driver.
Oh, 10-4, that is nicely said. Well, with that, Steve, we will let you get back to the driver's seat, continue doing what you're doing, put the hammer down to the floor, and make us proud. And good luck to you, buddy.
Roger that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 6 of Steven Mattox, currently in 8th place of starting back in 22nd place. Well, Dave, he was the opposite of every other driver I know. The track temp, he said he loved it. You'd have thought most people love the lower track temp, but he did love the very, very high temp. So that's very, very interesting. And he has been doing an amazing job with that high track temp. So we should expect to see him in the top 5 here shortly, Dave.
Well, most definitely. But look at our top 5 right now, Sean. We have our current race leader, the 18 of Travis Browder. He has got the 28 of Eric Roberts on its outside. Right behind Browder, you have the 7 of Dallas Pataska and James O'Brien in that second row. In that third row, you got Curtis Aho and Steven Aguiar. So he's got some tough battle to get up there, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. And we are going to have a 15-lap shootout here for the checkered flag here at Michigan International Speedway.
And Dave, right now I'm actually looking at the stats. Dave, it did seem as though the 18 of Browder and the 28 of Eric Roberts did decide to stay out. So the 18 of Browder does have 6 laps on his tires, while the 28 of Roberts does have 9 laps on his tires. Or everybody else who pitted in has 3 laps. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly, Dave, how that affects them. But yeah, they will try their best to keep everybody behind them. But that 1 of James O'Brien is hungry for a win. So is the 7 of Pataska, and so is the 16 of Curtis Aho. Well, Dave, take it away.
Pace car brings him out of turn number 4, dips down into pit road. Green flag flies, off goes Browder, hard on that throttle, drops below that white line there, trying to get a good run as he gets a good run coming into turn number 1.
That 28 of Eric Roberts does get left out to the outside line high and dry, right now being overtaken by the 7 of Pataska and the 1 of James O'Brien, following the 16 of Curtis Aho. The 16 of Curtis Aho following them in that line. That 16 of Aho, big run, the 1 of James O'Brien, who then throws that defensive line on him to try and keep him behind him. And so far, they are both catching up to the 7 of Pataska, because that 18 of Browder is pulling away.
Here comes the 1 of James O'Brien to the inside of Dallas Pataska. He's bringing the 16 of Aho as they are trying to get up there to our current race leader, the 16 of Travis Browder, as they come through the dogleg.
And that 16 of Curtis Aho is boxed in between the 7 of Pataska and the 1 of O'Brien. Has no choice but to ride behind the 1 of O'Brien. But into turns number 1, the 1 of O'Brien does go high. And that does leave the 16 of Aho down into the bottom lane. And that does increase the gap in between both drivers. But they were both able to get around. the 7 of Dallas Pataska, and they do have the 6 of Steven Mattox on the charge right now, Dave. He is riding on the draft of the 7 of Pataska, and he does seem to be closing it in.
He's doing a good job, as he said. He is bringing his A game, as he is currently running inside the top 5, or number 6 right now. No, he's running top 5 here, as he is right behind Dallas Pataska, as he is trying to get up there and challenge him here and try to gain as many positions to get on that podium.
Oh man, I totally called that. I did say he was going to be in the top 5 in no time, and he did actually do that. He is in the top 5 behind the 7 of Dallas Pataska, and so far he is catching up the 7 of Dallas Pataska, but he does have an engine roaring behind. It is the 8 of Steven Aguiar, and Dave, the 1 of James O'Brien, has caught up to the 18 of Travis Browder. So Browder has a lot of work to do, Dave, to try and keep the 1 of James O'Brien behind him, because James O'Brien tonight, Dave, has led the most laps. He has been one of the fastest cars out there, so the competition is just getting stiffer.
Yeah, it's coming down here. We got 12 laps remaining. It looks like Travis Browder is just going to have to find some way to keep the 1 of James O'Brien behind him, not let him get to that inside there, as James O'Brien gets to that back bumper looking for a spot. He might try the inside. No, he is just going to ride. I think he is just waiting for the right time to make that move.
Yep, and since Dave, he is waiting for the right time to make that move, it is allowing the 16 of Curtis Aho to come ever closer to them, and Dave, 16 of Aho has been a threat to the 1 of James O'Brien, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens amongst these 3 drivers, the 16 of Aho, the 1 of James O'Brien, and the 18 of Travis Browder, who are all the very, very fast drivers. They do also have the 7 of Pataska behind them, but they did manage to put quite the gap between them, and the 7 of Pataska and the 6 of Mattox is catching up to that 7 of Pataska.
Well, it looks like the 1 of James O'Brien dove it down underneath and is able to get around the 18 of Travis Browder. Now the 16 of Curtis Aho tags the wall, slows down. That is going to push him back here as Steven Maddox and Dallas Pataska and Steven Aguiar are able to get around him. Highly unfortunate here with 11 laps to go.
Highly unfortunate indeed, Dave. He did put in a hard fight overall, but right now, Dave, he might have some damage, but he's not going to back it down right now, keeping the 654 of Josh Conker behind him while he rides in the draft of the 8 of Steven Aguiar on this straightaway. He has been bumped down to 6th place. He does leave the door open to 654 of Josh Conker, who will look to his inside. Oh, they almost made contact. They do make contact, but no harm was done.
Well, it's 10 to go. These drivers know that they're only going to give so much. But that was good driving by both drivers.
And Dave, for the back in the pack, we do have a battle between the 45 of Eddie Hawks and the 911 of John LaBeouf. They are side by side here on the entrance to turn number 3. That 45 of Hawks does seem to have more speed on the entrance to turn 3, but on the exit of 4, the 911 of LaBeouf will make it stick nice and tight. Big run on the exit of turn 4, and will challenge on the 45 of Eddie Hawks, who is using the draft of the 66 of Charles Paradis in the 11th place position. The 911 John LaBeouf was able to lead a slight nose over the 45 of Eddie Hawks on the entrance to turn number 1, but on the exit of turn 2, the 45 of Hawks comes up with the big run, but has no choice but to lift because he did seem to be losing a little bit of grip, which most likely would have affected him, but right now he was able to back it down. That did allow the 60 of Cotton Lane to take advantage of that. And Dave, looking up front, we do have the 16 of Curtis out applying pressure to the 654 of Josh Conger, who was able to get ahead of him. And right now we'll have another battle in front of these drivers, 7 of Pataska and the 6 of Mattox. Well, last time we checked, Dave, the 7 of Pataska was ahead of the 6 of Mattox, but Mattox just got around the 7 of Pataska and is now hunting down the 18 of Travis Browder.
Yeah, these guys are battling behind. That is allowing the 1 of James O'Brien to pull out a gap here, as he is now about 8 tenths ahead of our second place Toyota Camry of Travis Browder. But Steven Maddox is coming in a hurry, as you said, as he said in that interview. He is going to push it and try to get up there, as we are now coming on 7 laps to go.
And Dave, speaking of Steven Mattox, he does love that high track temp, and he definitely is showing it is showing in his driving as we speak right now. And they, just like we had seen last time, Dave, that 1 of James O'Brien once again has extended that lead, and so far he does seem to be actually extended even more against the 18 of Travis Browder, as Travis Browder and the 1 of O'Brien do have 3 laps difference on tires, because James O'Brien does have less tires compared to the 18 of Browder, and so does the 6 of Steven Mattox, who has the exact same number of laps on his tires as that 1 of James O'Brien, and that most likely, Dave, is playing quite the key role in the 18 of Browder's handling.
Most definitely, as we see Stephen Maddox get to the back bumper, do a crossover move. He is going to look to the inside of Travis Browder through turns 1 and 2. Is Browder going to be able to hold him off here as they come close here, coming on exit? Nope, Stephen Maddox is going to stay door to door with him. It's going to be a drag race here on the backstretch as they are battling for that second position.
That 6 of Mattox will try and use a side draft for the 18 of Browder, but right now the 6 of Mattox did lead a slight nose, and right now he is pulling the 7 of Pataska, who does fall in line behind the 6 of Mattox to get past the 18 of Browder, and he does do so successfully. Also open the door for the 8 of Aguiar to get around the 18 of Browder, who then throws a block or gets back in line behind the 7 of Pataska to try and avoid losing more spots.
Well, the question is now, can the 6 of Maddox get up there and catch James O'Brien, as we are now 5 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. 5 laps left to battle it out as we are battling here. Here comes Dallas Pataska looking to the inside there. Stephen Maddox trying to take over that second position as they are door to door here coming into turn number 3.
On the entrance to turn 3, the 7 of Pataska does take it back away from the 6 of Steven Mattox, but because they are battling, that 1 of James O'Brien is smiling, because the more they battle, the more he pulls away the 6 of Mattox. Big round of the 7 of Pataska will right in line behind him to use that draft. David, he goes to the outside to try and make the pass on the outside, but the 7 of Pataska does try to defend that position, but they will be side by side still in turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like our biggest battle is going to be for this second position. We currently have Dallas Pataska in second, Stephen Maddox in third. Stephen Maddox is going to drop up in front of Travis Browder behind Dallas Pataska here as they are getting ready to come with 3 laps to go here as they are now coming through turns 3 and 4.
And Dave, for the back in the pack, we do have another battle between the 28 of Roberts and the 60 of Cotton Lane. 45 Eddie Hawks takes it 3 wide down the middle. Nope, they go back to 2 wide. 28 Eric Roberts stays low to let them all go by. That 45 Eddie Hawks is pulling 25 Blevins. Blevins looks to the outside, gonna take it 3 wide on the 45 of Hawks, and the 28 of Eric Roberts. Will he make it stick? 28 of Roberts does back it down. They go back to 2 wide. 24 of Blevins goes to the outside line. The 45 of Eddie Hawks, big run off the exit of turn 2 and keeps him behind him. And another battle, 6-6 of Charles Perez being challenged by the 21 of Trevor White. That is a battle for the 10th place position. 6-6 of Charles Perez does hold it nice and strong on the outside. 21 of Trevor White didn't get quite as good of a run on the exit of turn 4 and falls back in line behind the 6-6 of Paradis.
Well, as we are now 2 to go, it looks like the 6 of Stephen Maddox was able to get back around Dallas Pataska. As these two battle it out, here comes the 8 of Stephen Aguiar, as he is looking to get up in this mix. He tags the wall coming out of turn 2. That is going to slow him down as Travis Browder, but unfortunately it's far enough back and not going to be able to get up there and make that pass. So it looks like we have the 6 of Maddox and the 7 of Pataska that will be battling for that second and third position here, as James O'Brien is about to cross the start-finish line and take the white flag.
And Dave, that 7 of Pataska is in the draft with the 6 of Steven Mattox, most likely trying his best to think of a good strategy to try and set him up. Because at this point, he is aware that the 6 of Mattox is riding in his rearview mirror to try and see exactly where he's going to go to try and throw that block or to try and use a defensive line to keep him behind him. But that 7 of Pataska will try and pull him in using that draft on the straightaway. And right now, it does seem as though it is working in his favor.
Well, coming into turn 3, Stephen Maddox is going to lead. Dallas Pataska is right behind him, as Dallas Pataska is trying to feather that throttle, but it looks like Stephen Maddox is going to hold him off and come away with the second place, while James O'Brien is going to win tonight's race. So our top 3 is going to be James O'Brien, followed by Stephen Maddox and Dallas Pataska.
And rounding the top 5 will be the 8 of Aguiar finishing 4th, and the 18 of Travis Browder 5th. 6, 5, 4, Josh Conker 6th. The 3 of Robertson 7th. The 16 of Curtis Aho 8th. The 11 of Massey 9th. And the 21 of Trevor White will round up the top 10. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to interview the top 3 drivers. The 1 of James O'Brien, the 6 of Steven Mattox, and the 7 of Dallas Pataska. So stay tuned. And right now we are going to be following the 1 of James O'Brien, because we most likely will see a smoke show. Well, James O'Brien, you did earn it, brother, so please burn that sucker down. Blind us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our race winner, the one of James O'Brien, also being last season's champion. Well, James, how you doing tonight, buddy?
A lot better than I have been this year. It's been a while since I've been up here.
Absolutely, James. And last week you were able to finish in the top 5, finishing in 4th place behind the 654 of Josh Conker, and that was at Dover. And James, tonight you did bring your A game. You did put the hammer down to the floor. You did lead a lot of laps. You did lead the most laps tonight, and I was able to just get around the 18 of Travis Browder and execute green flag pit stops. Well, James, tell us about tonight's race, please.
It was just about being clean and consistent. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I've been pretty inconsistent this whole year, and the last few races I've been trying to turn it around, and it seems to be working. Dallas is really fast, and he wasn't here last season, so it's kind of a new set of challenges trying to compete with him.
Oh, 10, for I can only imagine. And James, tonight we did speak to the 6 of Mattox about the track temp. And well, James, how did the track temp affect you tonight? Because it did seem as though you were not really running the tank dry for those green flag pit stops.
I had a short plan because I knew how this track can be, especially in the higher end car. It's very loose and unforgiving if you make any mistakes or even if you go over your tire wear at all. So me and Josh, my teammate, even Corey Blevins too, we all had a plan to pit at certain windows, and we had to adjust them a little bit near the end, but my car felt great through the run no matter where I did or where I was or who I was running it with. It seemed like the later in the run, the better it handled, the more neutral it was.
Oh, copy that, James. And James, once that green flag had flown for the final time right there, the 18 of Travis Browder was ahead of you. And, well, basically, did you think you were going to be able to get around him as easily as you did? Because you guys did have 3 laps difference on your tires.
I don't know if it was as easy as it looked. He knows how to run well to block, and even if it doesn't look like he's blocking, it's very subtle. It's a good racing line, you know. So I kind of had to figure out to set him up because I could get to his bumper, but there was nothing else I could do with him because it would tighten my car up. So I had to kind of cross him over into turn 1 and just hope my momentum carried me. It's pretty difficult to pass below somebody at most racetracks because you'll get tight, but it seemed to work here.
Oh, 10-4, James. And yeah, that did show in your driving style tonight. Yeah, you did actually set him up. We did notice you did toss it into the inside, and he had no choice but to stay high, and you were able to make it stick on that bottom lane, carry your momentum, and clear him on the exit of turn number 2. Well, James, what should we expect from you next week at Kansas in this case, buddy?
I've actually never raced there. It's one of the tracks that I've missed. It's actually the last 2 tracks I've never raced at least on this sim. I've raced them before in other games, but Kansas is one of those cookie cutter, kind of like Chicagoland, and I seem to be pretty strong at those, so hopefully a few practice sessions will acclimate me to the track pretty quick.
10-4, James. Well, James, you are an amazing driver. You were the season champion last season, and tonight you did bring it home. You did have 3 1s on the board, across the board. First place in practice, first in qualifying, and brought the sucker home for the checkered flag. Well, we do look forward to seeing you again next week at Kansas. And before we let you go, James, any final words, buddy?
Thanks for broadcasting. Congratulations on getting us onto iRacing Live. I haven't been able to tell you guys that because I haven't been up here in the booth in a few weeks, so that's pretty big. Hopefully everybody out there enjoyed the race. I know these can get kind of boring because there's no cautions or wrecks, but to me, I had a lot of fun. So.
Well, James, it is good to see you on the podium once again after a while. You are an amazing driver, and we do thank you for the kind words. And once again, we do look forward to seeing you again next week at Kansas. So have a good night and good rest of the week, buddy.
You too, man. Have a good night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was tonight's race winner, the one of James O'Brien. But behind him is once again the 6 of Stephen Mattox, who we did have the honor of speaking with during that the first and only caution that we had tonight. You got a cop there again, there, Stephen.
Yeah, this is Steven. We copy.
Well, Stephen, when we interviewed you, you were in 8th place. And we talked to you about the track temp and how the car was performing. And you said you loved it, and you did. It did show in your performance. You did go from 8th place to 5th place, and I believe 1 or 2 laps after the green flag had flown, and you ended up finishing here in 2nd place. Well, Steve, give us a rundown of those last couple of laps from your perspective.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate James. It was a great victory. Uh, I felt like I had enough to run him down once I got by, I believe it was Dallas. But unfortunately, I got a little too aggressive. I think it was coming out of 2, lost a lot of time, and after that, it was pretty much game over. But the last few laps there, I think it was once I got by Dallas, which it was really, really difficult. I had to try to do a crossover move. I know coming up the front stretch, I was going to stay low, but he stayed low right with me. And so I tried to make a quick move up high. So he came up high, and that gave me an opportunity to get underneath him. And going into the turn, I was able to break it down enough that I was able to hold him off. But I was pretty strong. Even if he had not come up, I felt like I had a plan that I could pass him on the outside. Uh, like I said earlier, the track temperatures were really in our favor this evening.
Oh, 10-4, Steve. I am very, very glad to hear that. And Steve, speaking of Dallas Pataska, it did seem as though, I believe, two laps before the white flag had flown, he was all over your back bumper. He was all over your rear view. Did you feel the pressure from him, buddy? And how did you handle that?
Well, Dallas is an excellent driver, but I had been so strong all race long that my focus really was on hoping that James would make a mistake. So I wasn't really driving rear view mirror. Of course, I knew he was there. I kept track of where it was, but I was really focused on James, just trying to run my regular line. I was hoping didn't happen, but I was hoping he made a mistake. But hey, second place. I've had a rather inconsistent season. I think the last couple 3 races I've gotten better. So basically, our focus moving forward is just to finish top 5 every race here on out, and hopefully that momentum will carry us into next season.
Oh, 10-4, Steven. Well, Steven, it had been an amazing race. You did do an amazing job tonight. Went from 22nd place, no qualifying time, finishing in 2nd place, gaining 20 spots overall. Very impressive, being the hard charger for tonight's race. Well, Steven, what should we expect from you next week at Kansas, buddy?
Well, thank you for the hard charger. Our schedule did not allow us to make the practice session, and then since we didn't have any practice race, we didn't feel like it was right to qualify. That's why we started at the rear of the field. And then we had to try and use the regular race laps, to get a good feel for the track, and so it worked out well. Kansas next week, we hope that won't be the case. Hopefully our schedule should allow us to hit some practice laps there. Kansas, I love Kansas. I always have problems. They're just subtle things at Kansas that I need to work on in turn 1 and 2. And because there's a nasty little bump there in turn 1 and 2, and if you hit that thing, it upsets your front end and it sends you up to the wall. So just some small breaking points. Once we get some practice laps on us, maybe 50, 100 laps, I believe I can work it out. And it's a pretty smooth track, so not too much tire wear. It's going to be a fast track. So we'll see. Hopefully our strategy that we have, which we have one strategy for Kansas next week, go hard every single lap. And hopefully that'll work out for us.
Oh, copy that, Steven. Well, Steven, once again, congratulations on your 2nd place finish, and we do wish you the best of luck next week at Kansas. And before we let you go, Steve, any final words, buddy?
Well, I just want to thank you. Congratulations on the iRacing Live, and you guys do a tremendous job broadcasting, and keep up the good work.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was tonight's 2nd place finisher, the 6th of Stephen Mattox. But let's go on to the 7th of Dallas Pataska, who is rounding up the podiums tonight. Get a cop there, Dallas.
Yep, how you doing, Sean?
How are you, buddy?
Pretty good. This is right about where I'm happy with. Could have gone worse. I could have gone better, but I'm content with this finish.
Oh, 10 for Dallas. And Dallas, yeah, it did seem as though towards the beginning of the race, before that caution had flown, you were just pretty much riding and taking while you can and not really forcing matters and just pretty much content with where you were riding. Well, tell us about your experience tonight, buddy.
Well, my first run didn't go as well as I'd like it. I burned up the tires in the beginning of the run and wasn't quite sure how to, I guess, save tires a little bit. The practice session we had before the race, which I ran a bunch of laps in, was a lot hotter and it's a lot more slick, so I was used to something else. So my first one was all about just working out that kink and figuring out how to drive the car, which was feeling quite a bit different. It was a lot more tight. And then after that, when we weren't having any cautions, it was just a matter of figuring out pit stops. I thought some people were pitting a bit too early, but it worked out for them, so congratulations on their part. At the end of the race, I took 2 tires, and it worked out because I knew that a lot of the guys I was going to be around had pretty much the same speed as me, and we had about a 15 lap run, so tire wear would come into effect, and consistency would also be pretty important among those laps. So it was important to be up at the front to avoid any possible wrecking, and to be consistent enough to stay at the front on slightly worn tires.
Oh, copy that, Dallas. Well, we are sorry to hear about the trouble you had towards the beginning on burning up your stuff too early. We are glad that you were still able to hold off the whole entire field behind you and also battle the 6 of Steven Mattox those last couple of laps. And Dallas, speaking of Steven Mattox, it did seem as though you guys were just pretty much exchanging the second place position. He would overtake you, you'd overtake him, and just tell us about that experience, buddy. Do you think you could have done anything differently, or was everything as good as it could have gotten?
Well, I think honestly, I don't think I could have given him a run for second much. After he got by me, he was really good at getting a run out of 2, and I let him have the low line because it was easier to defend from the high line to get the run off the corner. But once he got by me, all I could do is get to his bumper. If I were to pull out and try to get ahead of him, he'd cruise right on by me out the turn. So I just settled for third and made sure no one behind me got by me.
Oh, 10 for Dallas. And Dallas, looking at your stats right now, you've had 2 wins, 5 top 5s, actually 3 with tonight's race. Well, would you call this season a success so far, buddy?
Yeah, I'd call it a major success. Coming into the season as a rookie, I was kind of just feeling it out, hoping for maybe top 10 in points. Just focus on keeping my head down, learning the league, learning who's driving, and getting solid finishes every week. And for the most part, that's been what's happening, but the finishes have been 5 to 10 places higher than what I had expected. So it's definitely a success, and I hope to carry it on throughout the rest of the season.
And Dallas, we do want to congratulate you on your 3rd place finish tonight and also all your great successes in this season so far. And just like you pointed out, you are a rookie. This is your first season running here with the Precision Racing League, but you are an amazing driver, and it has really shown in your performance week after week after winning last week's race as well at Dover International for the A&J Memorial. What should we expect from you at Kansas, with that said, Dallas?
That's a good question, Sean. Your guess is probably as good as mine there. I've ran this car there absolutely 0 laps so far, but that will change this week. I'm going to put in my usual practice, maybe a bit more because it's a track I'm not familiar with. But hoping, another top 5 finish, stay consistent to round out this season and, carry that momentum going into the next one.
Oh, copy that, Dallas. And that is a very, very good strike. That is very nicely said on your part. Always aiming high, hoping for a top 5. You have had a lot of top 5s and 2 wins in the season so far. So we do wish you the best of luck there at Kansas. You do have a very, very strict field, so it's not going to be very easy to do, but you always do manage to get around the toughest drivers here, which does really show in your driving style. Well, Dallas, before we let you go, any final words you'd like to say, buddy?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the viewers on iRacing Live and and YouTube for coming out and watching the stream. I'd like to thank you guys, the streamers. Once again, you guys put on a great show. Hopefully a little more exciting with less cautions. I know that can be hard, but it was a good race from our part. And I'd like to thank the guys over at PRL for putting this championship together for us drivers.
Once again, Dallas, we do want to congratulate you on rounding up the podium finishers, finishing in third. And also look forward to seeing you again next week at Kansas. Have a good night, buddy, and a good rest of the week.
All right, thank you guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 7 of Dallas Pataska finishing in third place, and that does round up the podium finishes. The 1 of James O'Brien came out first, the 6 of Steven Mattox second, and the 7 of Dallas Pataska in third place. Well, David, had been an amazing race. I am very speechless. I spoke my mind off. We had so much action throughout the entire field, battle after battle for the lead, and also some lap cars battling in the back. Just pretty much a whole battlefield race, and a lot of green flag runs and a lot of green flag pit stops. Any final words, Dave?
Well, as you said, Sean, you pretty much summed it up. You know, they did an awesome job. We saw 1 caution, 11 lead changes. We saw a lot of green flag pit stops. We saw some struggle on pit roads, some excel. It was just an overall wonderful race here tonight in Michigan.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Precision Racing League United Armed Services Oval Series by Dean Stone, featuring the Michigan Great Lakes 180 by the 16 of Curtis Aho. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to be a part of this, you can check out the Precision Racing League on iRacing. They do have a road and oval series, so you guys can join whichever one you like, based on your preferences. And next week they will be racing at Kansas Speedway for the Race of Champions 130 by Trip Morton. So that should be an amazing race, and that is the race right before the final race of the season. That is going to be the Dash for Cash race at Homestead, Miami. And the next broadcast we're going to have is the Extreme Motorsports Camping World Truck Series for the UNOH 175 at Watkins Glen for the final points race before their Chase Series begins. So that should be an amazing race here on Tuesday night. And once again, Precision Racing League will be racing at Kansas Speedway next week. As tonight we did see an amazing race. We have seen an amazing race throughout the entire season. So it doesn't end tonight. It will carry on until the season ends, so we can finish this season nice and strong. And ladies and gentlemen, we do want to thank you guys for coming out here to watch us here on the Dre Broadcasting Network. If you're new to the channel, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when we do go live, and smashing that like button so we can know that we are doing a great job. If there's something that needs improvement, we are more than happy to know about it by you guys telling us, so we can make this a better experience for you guys. Well, thank you for joining us once again. This was the Precision Racing United Armed Services Oval Series by Dean Stone, featuring the Michigan's Great Lakes 180 by Curtis Aho, who finished in 8th place from Big D's Racing. I am Sean Zulu and Dave Everly behind the cameras, and have a good night.